Welcome to part 5 of the mini golf marble machine build. I'm going to finish the third track that will consist of the marbles going through or around some sort of structure, into a tunnel, and down a winding path. The first thing I need to do is build the next hole, so I go ahead and do that using the steps I've used in the past. The hole right before this one is 3 paths. The middle one will go through the building, and the outside ones will go around it. I haven't decided what the building will be yet, but I've narrowed it down to either a cottage or a castle. For these paths, I started with a piece bigger than the space and carefully cut out parts to make it fit snugly. This one on the left is built with barriers already included. This one on the other side will get more detail when I add the building, so I'll leave it as a functioning base for now. The track needed to cross the path of the loop, but passing in front of it would take away from the look of the loop, so I decided to build a tunnel as a feature that passes under the drop for the loop and leads to the other side. With the base of the path in place, I start on the entrance to the tunnel. The area around it will be landscaped later on in the process. I used a circle template to make sure that the curves at the top were uniform. I then added barriers to the inside of the tunnel. I didn't worry too much about how it looked because it would end up hidden in the end. I mostly just made sure that the inside barriers were functional and stable. I used scrap pieces as a template to help make the exit to the tunnel. I then finished the inside barriers. When building the barriers before the tunnel, I was much more careful in planning out how it would look, as this would be clearly visible. I built the final hole of this track so I would know how much area I would have left to work with. Then I added a simple piece that connects the end of the track to the catch basin at the bottom. Now I can move on to the final part of this track. I start with a slightly larger piece of wood and trace out the desired path. My goal is to make this look like it's winding down the side of a hill. So, when I cut it up, I slice it into small sections that will then be glued back together to create the slope that I want. These are the lines where the path will be cut and reconnected. The first part is directly in line with the end part of the tunnel. It will be holding a decent amount of weight until the path connects to the end, so I glue in a support beam under the joint. Then, one by one, I connect the path back together. I decided to shorten this one up a bit to pull the curve further away from the loop. Then, I used it to mark up the pieces of the curve. Another straight connection called for another support beam. The last piece was cut to fill the space that was left while making a strong connection between the path and the hole. The next step was to smooth out the path using a Dremel. I kept a vacuum hose running nearby to keep the dust under control. The Dremel does a good job of getting the bulk of the work done, but sandpaper afterwards really gives a nice finished surface. Now, I could work on the barriers for this, one piece at a time. Later on in the building process, all those edges will be spackled and smooth before painting. In the end, each side will look like one wall all the way down. The last thing to do is add the barrier around the final hole. And this track is complete. Now there is only one track to go, and then the machine will run completely on its own.